Chris here, back taking a look at yet another affordable tablet. This one is from a company called VastKing. It is their KingPad M10. Now it has a chipset in it that we've seen a lot of, and that is the Unisoc Tiger T618. It's not actually a bad chipset for the price of it. It's an octa-core with Mali G52 graphics, and it does support LTE band 20, so we've got 4G support with this one, dual SIM, GPS, FM radio, 3.5mm headphone jack in this particular tablet with a very nice 10.36-inch IPS screen that's fully laminated, super bright, and probably one of the best screens I have seen in a tablet. Now it is running Android 11, we have 4GB of RAM and a 6000 mAh battery. Inside the box with the tablet, you will find our charger. Now, it's only 10 watts, this one, so very slow to fully charge this particular tablet. It will take over 2.5 hours. We have a Type A to Type C USB cable. There's a SIM tray tool. So yes, we do have SIM support with this. It does support LTE band 20 for those in Europe. We have this little card here on the KingPad M10. An extended warranty if you sign up for that, which is quite unheard of. We don't normally have such a large warranty for such tablets out of China. And then a user manual. The KingPad M10 does also have a keyboard, and they sent this out to me. So it uses this nice synthetic material. There's a very stiff hinge here. So that's actually the kickstand, this part. You fold that right back, and then you'll be able to prop up the tablet at all sorts of angles. And that is actually quite good. Now it is stiff, it holds up the weight of the tablet just fine, and it clips into this plastic right there. So the keyboard layout, not too bad considering we're only working with approximately 10.5 inches here. The smaller little arrow keys there, but it's not too bad. If you are going to be typing a lot, I do recommend getting a hardware keyboard versus using the touchscreen, of course. We get a tiny little touchpad right here, but it's still okay and usable. It's better than nothing. And the keyboard, it lies flat here, so there's no bounce or anything. And the quality of these keys, it's not a loud keyboard to type on either. They do feel okay, and so far in the time using it, I haven't had any problems. You can see right there, we have the Pogo port pin connector, so it doesn't use Bluetooth or anything like that, so this keyboard does not have any lag to it at all. The other side on it has, well, just nothing there. That's material again. So that means that both sides are protected by this case. So we have an alloy chassis here on the back, matte finish to it, and it does pick up a few fingerprints. The back of it right here, this part that is made out of plastic with a rubberized texture to the top of it. Again, you can see a few little fingerprints now of my week of using this tablet, and that is for the wireless antenna reception. So Wi-Fi AC is on board with this, and we do have, as mentioned, we've got LTE support too, which is great. So right here we have a 13 megapixel camera and a flash. Down the bottom, you'll find a microphone. There are 2 loudspeakers right here. So you can actually place voice calls with this particular tablet, but it's just via that single mic. There's no noise cancellation, but it can be done. However, I would recommend plugging in a headset if you're going to be placing calls on this tablet. So Pogo port pin connector, there are 2 holes there for the stays for that keyboard. On the right side, you'll find our 3.5mm headphone jack that does support microphones, of course. And then here on the left, we've got our Type-C port. This is data only, does not support video. Power button, which is made out of plastic. Our SIM tray tool, which does support micro SD cards or 2 nano SIMs. So it is great that we do have this support. And the good thing about this too is it has GPS on board. So not just the LTE support, dual SIM, but GPS. For this price and category of tablet, it's offering quite a bit. Up the top, we have another 2 loudspeakers. So yes, there are 4 little speakers in total, volume up and down, and what looks like a microphone is in fact a reset switch inside there. So you use the SIM tray tool on that if it ever did lock up and you need to do that, which of course you shouldn't have to. And then our screen here, we're looking at a 10.36-inch screen with the bezels around the outside are not too bad. They're about a fingernail or so, the width of them. Now, they don't look like the pressed material or even the box. See the box? The bezels look a lot slimmer than what it really is. They're trying to make it look like something like a Galaxy Tab S7 or the F7 Plus. Not quite that slim, but they're not bad. Now, this screen is excellent. It's really good. I'm pleasantly surprised by it. Brightness tops out at almost 700 nits. I did not expect this. It's a super bright, fully laminated IPS screen. You see when I just turn this right up, overpowering my camera, of course, moment, but it's really bright and you can make it out in direct sunlight. So fully laminated means there's no ugly gap between that digitizer glass. Gestures, touch, I have not had any problems with it all, and that is great. So let's have a look at quickly some real world images on this. I don't think it's a bad screen at all. It's right now, it's a little bit too bright. Now it does dim down quite dim. And again, that touch response is good. And just looking at these real world images, I think this is an excellent screen that they've selected and gone with. Now the resolution is 2000 by 1200. And our front webcam, which is in the top bezel right here, that is 8 megapixels. So a UI with this one, it is running a stock Android 11 UI. It's okay, but you can install something like Nova Launcher if you want. So you do have like a dock here on the right side, which I'm not too fond of. You can move and change that around a little bit. And of course, if I swipe up here, that brings up the apps drawer. Now, performance in general with the ROM, it's only got 4 gigabytes of RAM. We have 128 gigabytes of storage with this. And of course, that Tiger T618. For the price, it's not a bad chipset. It's not super fast. So if you do heavy multitasking, I have noticed when you've got a game running in the background, you go out of it, you go back into the launcher, you will see sometimes a few frame dips. Now, right now, performance with pretty much nothing running in the background there, it's smooth. It's not bad at all. You might have noticed that it does sport a hardware FM tuner. So this, of course, you need to plug in a headset to get working. But that's why I say that this affordable tablet here, this chipset, really does offer a lot for the money because you've got the GPS, dual SIM 4G, FM radio there too. So a lot of tablets don't even have these little extras that this one does. Now I do recommend that when you get hold of this tablet that you do run the system update. So they do have an over-the-air update system where they push out patches. Pretty standard there, but a lot of manufacturers don't even bother or use this. And it's good to see that they are at least doing that to fix just minor little things, which they have with this update here. So when you get it, you're going to have about, here you can see, just over 113, 15 or so gigabytes free that you'll get with this on first boot. And this is our Antutu score. Sorry about this, I have to flip it around. So accelerometer, as you can see, is working fine. So this score, it's not amazing, okay? So this is a pretty standard score here for that Tiger T618. It's a 12 nanometer chip. It's an 8 core and it has the Mali G52 graphics. So it's not a monster, all right? But for standard light tablet needs, I think it does okay. I don't think it's too bad there. This one only paired up with the 4 gigabytes of RAM. So the storage on board here, this is eMMC spec here, and it's not amazing as you can see. I mean, it's okay for the type of storage it is, 128 gigabytes as I pointed out there a few times. And of course you can expand upon it. I tested it out, tested the micro SD card slot, 128 gigabyte one, fine. So this is what I was expecting here, a DRM, so wide vine level 3 cert. We need level 1. So Amazon Prime, Netflix, Disney Plus is all standard definition, unfortunately, which is an absolute shame because it has such a nice fully laminated IPS screen, this model here. So we're missing out on that. I mean, it really depends. If you can watch Amazon Prime Video or Netflix in only standard definition, it looks a little bit blurry and blocky, but it's for some people it's okay, but for me it isn't. So here we do have a battery life runtime. This was a screen configured to 200 nits. It runs until it gets to 20% of just 7 hours. It's only got a 6,000 milliamp hour battery. Now, if it had an 8,000 milliamp hour battery, we'd be looking at then about probably 9 hours. So 7 hours of runtime. It isn't a battery champion, but it's got a very bright screen too as well. So if you crank that brightness right up, you will really chew through that battery a lot faster. I wish it had a larger battery, but at the same time, it is a nice thin tablet. Now that chipset does have this too, which is the GPS I mentioned before, which is great to have on an affordable tablet. So down to 1 meter of accuracy is possible, and the signal strength is quite good. So it's there, you can use something like Google Maps and all sorts of other programs, but what it is lacking is a hardware compass. That is not on board. So it's always going to be pointing to east here because it simply is lacking that sensor. Now, if you're watching 16:9 content, you will see this will happen, okay? We've got borders top and bottom. They're not too bad because this does not have a 16:9 aspect ratio. It's more like 16:10 here, and that's why we've got the top and bottom bezels there. Now, the maximum quality with YouTube playback, you can select 1080p, which makes sense because the resolution here is only slightly over full HD. It's just 2000 by 1200. Now, audio-wise, the 3.5mm headphone jack, I don't think it sounds too bad, but certainly not the best I've heard. The speakers, so 2 down here, 2 at the top, as I showed you at the start of the video when we had a look at the hardware, they sound pretty flat to me, quite average. The loudness is, it's okay, but I really wish it was a bit louder. But here's a sample of those speakers now. So PDF files are one area that I think this tablet is really ideal for because of this really great looking screen. Now you've got your blue light filter, you've got your black and white mode, 2 reading modes. And what I'm using to read this PDF file is simply Google Play Books. I do find it works really well. Now if I skip ahead, you can see it's not going to be super quick, okay? Not going to win any speed records for PDF performance. However, when you zoom in, double tapping here, just look at the text. It's sharp, it's clear. I can happily read PDF files and definitely ebooks on a screen and a tablet like this, which is what I believe this tablet is very good at, just for your light Android tablet tasks. So if you've seen my other tablet videos on this particular chipset, that Unisoc Tiger T618, it can actually game all right for what it is. Not an amazing performer, sure, but a game like PUBG here, let's take a look at what settings we can get away with. We're not going to get, of course, 60 frames per second option under graphics. You'll see that if you put it onto smooth, you can at least run ultra, which is 45 frames per second. So let's take a look and see how is it going to run here on this KingPad M10. So the performance is okay. Let's have a look and see if I can get a kill here. All right, that was probably a bot. So it's playable. I am not completely lagging out and it just turns into a horrible, choppy, laggy mess. No. It seems to be fine. The Mali G52 here that's in this T618, it's okay for games, but you want to always keep the settings on the lowest possible visuals so that way it does not bog down. So it can even play, I've tested out this chipset before, something like Genshin Impact, but again, lowest possible visuals there is the only way to play with this chipset. So all the titles in the Play Store will be playable on this machine. Just don't expect it to perform like a flagship tablet, because clearly it's not. And this is what you can expect from that front-facing camera. So it's going to be okay for something like Zoom or WhatsApp calls, Skype. You get the idea, but not amazing. It's a little bit dark, the quality of it here, 8 megapixels. And the microphone quality as well is, yeah, it's average. So I wouldn't rate this as amazing, but it's not actually the worst I have seen when it comes to front-facing cameras on affordable Android tablets. Now that I've been using it for well over a week, what are the things I like about this KingPad M10? Well, the screen. It is so good for this category and price point of a tablet. Being an affordable one here, Android 11 entry level, you don't normally see screens like this. It is super bright. It has great blacks for an IPS. The contrast is very good. Touch response there is excellent, and it is fully laminated. So fantastic screen in this. It is a thin tablet, only over 8mm. It's about 8.2 millimeters. And the weight is just 440 grams, which is good because it only has a 6,000 milliamp hour battery in it. So battery life is around 7 hours. It's a little slow to charge. It does take well over 2.5 hours. That's normal though at only 10 watts with it. And I really like the fact that we've got GPS, dual SIM, 4G support. So you can put a SIM card in this and you can place voice calls. You can even answer WhatsApps and you can do all that sort of stuff that you would on a phone, but also on this particular tablet, which is great. And then GPS is there too, 3.5mm headphone, jack, of course. Really do need to use that for the voice calls because if you answer it without it, it's going over the loudspeaker, the microphone, and you don't get noise cancellation either. So you really want the mic close and a headset for that. Now the optional keyboard you can get with this, I think if you type a lot, if you're someone that's going to be answering a lot of emails, then that's something to go for because it's a hardware one, so there's no Bluetooth lag, there's no batteries to worry about, simply plugs in, connects, and it acts as a case to protect their tablet. Performance-wise, as I mentioned quite a few times, this is not a flagship tablet, but that T618 chipset actually does pretty well. You can play most of the games out there, just keep the settings on low. In fact, all the games do work. You just need to go with lower settings with it. And the ROM performance seems to be fine. It's stock Android 11, which is another positive there. So thank you so much for watching my review here of VastKing's KingPad M10.